ninth edition of the CBC Evening News. And our top story tonight, it's been confirmed. There's been a significant drop in the number of students who will be attending the University of the West Indies CBC campus this year. This as government's new tuition fee policy takes effect this semester. Shane Seeley has the details.
Statistics from the registrar at the UWI Cave Hill campus, Ken Walters, have revealed that there are almost 2,500 students less here this year than there were at the campus in 2013. And that's also about the same number of students that was here in 2005. Mr. Walters gave a breakdown of the stats during a news conference this morning.
Now, some of the faculties hardest hit. Humanities and Education undergraduate studies recording a 38% decrease, and medical sciences at postgraduate level seeing a decline of 77%. There's also been a significant slide in the number of new students coming to the campus this year.
A total of 1,468 students were registered this year for the first time, compared to 2,240 in 2013. So there's a 34% decline in numbers who are actually registering this year as new students versus last year.
The biggest concern for the campus registrar is in the area of postgraduate studies. He explains that Barbados depends on these students to drive the country's development.
The postgraduate section, I think, worries me a bit because I think that is the point at which we develop a whole lot of programs there in response to a public sector demand for management programs and those things. And I think if our students are not looking at those seriously, I think that is where the gap may occur in terms of the developmental process.
The campus was hoping to pick up the slack with its international student program, but that too has seen a fall off from 1,251 students to just 1,066. Mr. Walters, however, says that hundreds of students attending the university have taken up the option of its 10-month payment plan.
There might be some talk about the university calling students, but we felt that it's important that we share the information with our students in terms of the plan that we have for them. And therefore, we set up a unit which dealt with that payment plan. And the senior assistant registrar would have communicated continuously with the students in terms of what that plan provided for, and therefore given our students the opportunity to access that information and therefore access the opportunities to continue their education.
And the campus registrar says that the UWI Cave Hill is now in full review mode, with officials looking at the number of students doing courses in every faculty on a weekly basis. And they haven't shut shop on registrations just yet. They're giving students over the next few weeks to make a final decision about attending the campus this year. I'm Shane Seeley for CBC News.
Shane, thanks. The Transport Board is actively looking for solutions to phase out its old units in its fleet while simultaneously cutting ongoing operational expenses. The board took a major step today towards that goal, and Ryan Broom reports.
The Transport Board is looking to cut its maintenance costs. And part of cutting those maintenance costs may involve the use of smaller units, like this one. It's called a Nissan Civilian Bus. Minister of Transport and Works Michael Lashley and senior officials from the Transport Board, including General Manager Sandra Ford, accepted an invitation to see how well the buses would work on some of the board's shorter routes. The buses have an approximate seating capacity of 30 passengers, and units can also be reconfigured to meet the needs of the physically challenged by accommodating up to 4 wheelchairs. The short tour included communities in the Wanstead and Pine areas. There is currently no formal arrangement or agreement to acquire units from Courtesy, but the minister says government is actively exploring different options to partner with private sector entities.
He said before that the state cannot do it all alone. It is costly, and once we can encourage private sector partners to come and get involved, get on board, share some of the responsibility in terms of the maintenance, then Transport Board then will be able to operate at a level that is really not a burden on the taxpayers of this country. But we're looking at new initiatives, and something like this, we can either enter into a lease arrangement or direct purchase, or even if the person wants to come and get involved directly in a shared partnership with the Transport Board.
Mr. Lashley says a special committee has been set up to review the existing short routes, and in about a week they should have an idea of the specific requirements. He says once that process is completed, a paper will be prepared to be sent to Cabinet to seek approval.
We have to do a phasing out. You cannot have these large buses going into districts and only transporting 6 and 7 people. No, we can use those buses for longer routes. And also, I would like to see the day where we use the older buses for school transportation, because we only need those buses for about 3 hours in the morning and then the evening about 3 hours. So they can withstand that type of operation.
Meanwhile, Senior General Manager with Courtesy Garage, Nicholas Mackey, says Courtesy has experience supplying similar buses in Jamaica and one other regional market. He also says that Courtesy has also partnered with government in the past.
And we are, as a company, already working with the government, providing transportation solutions, for example, with the Water Authority. And we have open to partnership arrangements, or by the way of providing lease-to-own vehicles in terms of satisfying the needs of the government in terms of providing transportation and doing it at an affordable program with maintenance included, the same thing that the minister was alluding to.
Ryan Broom, CBC News.
Thanks, Ryan. Our plans were also revealed about just how government intends to tackle the issue of poor public transportation. The solution will come through the integration of the private sector into the public transportation system. Minister Lashley provided some insight into the proposed venture after he, along with the Education Minister and other transport officials, toured the Fairchild Street bus terminal.
I wouldn't go any further into that, but it will be a major announcement very shortly in terms of bringing the private sector into assisting the public transportation. And that will also necessitate a structure. We will start with a pilot project, and in the long run, it will necessitate some changes in the law in terms of having a legislative regime to control and to put conditions in place to have the private sector integrated into the public sector.
And the Association of Public Transport Operators, one of the entities representing the PSV sector, has welcomed the proposal to integrate the PSV sector into the public transport system. Interim Chairman Maurice Lee tells CBC News the way forward for the public transportation sector is through collaboration.
If there was ever a time that there was a need for collaboration between the private sector and the government in terms of public transportation, it is within this season. Obviously, everyone knows that the Transport Board has been going through a financial meltdown. They are unable to provide the service that traditionally they have been able to provide over the years. And I believe that the opportune time for the privately owned public service vehicles to rise to the occasion will be in this time.
Mr. Lee says the proposal will benefit the government as it will cut down on expenditure.
It makes no sense having a number of overcrowded routes where several vehicles are planned on that route, while at the same time you have people, let's say for Chalky Mount or Boscobel or certain parts in Phillip, that are standing up in the bus stand for 2 and 3 hours waiting for a bus.
Lawmen are investigating the sudden death of a St. Michael man. Anthony Maynard, a 56-year-old freighter of Berksland, Britons Hill, was reportedly offloading bags of produce from a lorry while at Chelston Gardens, Culloden Road, when he suddenly fell from the vehicle. He was pronounced dead on the scene, and police are now awaiting a post-mortem to determine the cause of death. The search continues for 3 armed masked men who reportedly robbed the Esso Paynes Bay service station in St. James yesterday morning. It was around 5 o'clock when the men, one armed with a knife and the other with a gun, stormed the building, making off with an undisclosed sum of money from the cashiers on duty. There were no reported injuries. And a second man is now in police custody as they continue investigations into last month's murder of Darren Brown. The 24-year-old was fatally stabbed while at Oistins on August 30th. Police have not yet revealed any further details about this second suspect. Yesterday, 21-year-old Cadian Romaine Chase of Silver Hill, Christchurch, was remanded to prison in relation to Brown's death. He will return to court on October 6th. We'll have more news ahead in just a moment, but first we want to hear from you on the question, do you believe smaller buses would help to improve the efficiency of the Transport Board? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results for you at the end of the news.
When you are feeling a little low, itching and scratching, and you feel the pain in your tummy.
You may have worms, so tell your mommy. You may even feel a little queasy. Cause you may have a runny tummy. When you feel the pain in your tummy, you may have worms, so tell your mommy.
Anyone can have worms. One dose of Centel eliminates most common intestinal worms. Deworm your family with Centel twice a year.
The search is on for the best Bajan cook. It's part of the Roberts Nifka Culinary Arts Competition in association with Caribbean Cuisine. Consulting chef and the man behind the idea, Peter Edie, says they're looking to find someone who can prepare the best traditional Bajan dish. He says the deadline for applications is October 3rd, but interested people should submit early because only 32 will go forward based on their recipes. Mr. Edie says the chosen few will go through an orientation process in preparation for the culinary clash.
A lot of people talk about cooking and they cook very well at home, but the camera tends to give them a little bit of a scare. Now, this is what the orientation is all about. We're going to teach you how to work with the camera and how to get your recipes together, because this is another thing. You might have a recipe that you use at home, and you didn't even realize you created a recipe. So this is going to be very important. So when you come and you bring your list of ingredients and you talk to me about what you do and how you do it, we're going to create a recipe for you. So when you get to the cooking part, you're going to have your recipe weighed out, everything put out there in portions, sizes, and so.
The cook-off takes place on November 14th and 15th at the Garfield Sobers Sports Complex, where there will be a marketplace and an exhibition.
So there'll be a big arena there, big theater set in, the culinary arts exhibition will be there, the Nifka culinary arts exhibition will be there, there'll be workshops going on, there'll be a food van, exhibition outside the food court, a whole big weekend children's area, seminars going on, everything going on for that 2-day weekend. So Nifka culinary arts is going to be a big thing this year.
Barbadians turned out in their numbers for this year's Sagicor Globathon, showing their support for the fight against below-the-belt cancers. Those cancers, cervical, ovarian, uterine, vaginal and vulva, account for 19% of the 5.1 million estimated new cancer cases and 2.9 million cancer deaths worldwide. Over 1,200 people, almost double the number last year, were estimated to have taken part in both the 5-kilometer run and walk from Bay Street. Consultant gynecological oncologist at the QEH and clinical director at the Barbados Cancer Society, Dr. Vikash Chatrani, says funds from the event will go towards setting up a gynecology and prevention unit at the QEH.
We've actually put it in stages. We know all the money's not going to come one time. So the first initiative is to get colposcopy beds, which we can diagnose cervical cancer, fix up the unit that's more personal, get very important equipment like thromboembolic stockings, patient control, analgesia. So as the money comes in, we will start buying equipment for our women.
Meantime, President of the Barbados Cancer Society, Dr. Dorothy Cook Johnson, notes the Globathon event has helped to sensitize the public about below-the-belt cancers.
I think a lot of women are becoming more aware of cancers below the belt. It was something that you could really never talk about before. And now everyone's out wearing the purple shirt and talking about it. And it's cervix cancer most of all that we're concerned about, because that's a cancer that can really be cured. As soon as you can find changes in the cells early, then it means that you can cure them by treating them.
Well, yet another locally produced movie is earmarked to make waves at an overseas film festival. It's the film Chrissy, and producer Marcia Weeks told CBC the film will premiere at the Zimbabwe International Film Festival between October 4th and 14th. She says the film, which was released in 2012, has surpassed all of the 3 other films produced by Step Productions.
When we went to South Africa, it was primarily a business trip and not for us to show the movie. However, we had 2 unofficial showings of Chrissy in Durban, and the response that we got from our audience, who were there were people there from Uganda, from Cameroon, and from the same Zimbabwe and different places. And when they saw the film, they were saying, "This is Africa." And that's what I remember.
Lead actor in the film, Michaela Harrison, says the film has encouraged her to get involved in acting.
I'm really happy to know that something that I was a part of has been able to, break so many boundaries that has been set for films here in Barbados about how people may perceive how films in Barbados are. Like, they don't think that we could accomplish so much, and to know that something I have been a part of has done so much, it makes me happy.
We'll have regional news next, but first, a reminder that we want to hear from you on the question. Do you believe